never really had a choice, holding back the quiet noise, hiding from this lonely voice, never really had a choice, silently into the void. Emptiness rains down on my inspiration, dried in these veins, tapped out in captivation. Nothing is endless but this train of thought circling the station. Is anybody there? Is anybody there? Is anybody there? Leaving now to go nowhere. Hey, screaming in this wordless voice, never really had a choice, holding back the quiet noise, hiding from this lonely voice, never really had a choice, silently into the void. Emptiness reigns over this blackout city, numbing the pain. Darkness can be so healthy. Sometimes you need it to find the meaning of everything, of anything. Screaming in this wordless voice, never really had a choice, holding back the quiet noise, hiding from this lonely voice, never really had a choice, silently into the void.
Good evening, everybody.
Nice.
This is Feedback and Friends. We've got my wonderful ill-esha there in Denmark, and IDN, I've forgotten exactly where you live, so...
in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, is it?
Yes.
I mean, that's a place with no seasons, isn't it? So it's probably basically nice all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
What's going on with you? I didn't it's been a while. Are you making a lot of music, releasing a lot? What are you doing out there?
I'm still making music. I'm releasing my originals. I just put like a new single out a couple weeks ago, and I'm also doing a lot of like collaborations with artists out here, and specifically some drag queens, which I'm really excited about working with and making songs for.
Nice.
And I'll have a song with Jasmine Masters, who was on like season 7 of Drag Race. I'll have a song out with her next week. It'll be released. And yeah,
Amazing.
besides that, just been DJing a little bit here and there as well, trying to get the career off the ground, of course, keep it rolling. What about you? What you been up to?
Well, if anyone has joined at all since we just started that track we just started with, that is the next single off of my Lips project, which is maybe setting a Guinness World for the longest, most painful and excruciating album release I've ever done. It was just one of those things that was like scattered over way too many years. I think COVID interrupted it. I think some other things interrupted it, but essentially like I even like changed DAWs. That's how long it's been, like 6-7 years or something. So I got Frost to help me master it and mix it. And the poor guy, like we were just, exporting the stems, and then a plugin would just be missing or broken because it was just from so long ago. So it was blood, sweat, and tears. And then I had this bright idea to do like a visual concept where I'm going to make a music video for every song. It's a great idea if you have all the time and energy and funds in the world. But it's been a journey. But now at the same time, I cannot relax till I get it out. So that is the next one that is going to come out. There will be a video. I have been filming some of it, but my gosh, it is just like, it is something that has been blocking me. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just can't move on with your life until you get something out. So it's the first time I've picked up my music again. Other than that, I'm just out in the boonies. There aren't a lot of shows here at all. In fact, none. I have to kind of go to Copenhagen or Hamburg if I want to see anything. So I realized how much I was not even just being at shows, but being around communities of people that are going out and doing things, that energy, that vibe. Like Los Angeles is exactly the example, right? I was just there actually for a work trip, and I was just like, there's so many like musicians on the street. There's just so many people vibing, and I do really miss that. So it's kind of just forcing me to turn inward and really just figure out my own voice when I don't have anyone to bounce off of in the same way, So trippy.
Which DAW did you switch from? And have you still made that switch?
Yeah. So a long time ago, I've used a lot of things. I started with Nuendo, and then I moved to Cubase, and then Logic for many, many years. And then when I started performing live, I started using Ableton because like there really isn't anything else, right? So then I was using Logic and Ableton, and there came a point where Ableton's production, like the arrangement view, so to speak, caught up to Logic. And then I was like, I don't really think there's a point using two different DAWs if there's no reason, right? There's nothing extra I'm getting out of this. So then I condensed Ableton, and at the time when I met you, then I was just teaching Ableton, so it was even more intense where I was like, Ableton all day long. So yeah, so that's when I switched. But a lot, like half of that album, I think actually that song that I just played started in Logic, ported over to Ableton, and then got mastered there later. So
Wow.
Yeah, it's been an artist journey. Do we have any of other new music of our own to play, or do we have a queue going?
We
how
have
are
a few
people
folks in the
feeling out
queue, but I'd like to, now we've got some folks paying attention, let's play Iden's video. Isha, you're talking about making music videos. Well, Iden, you've got a video for this song you called Chicken Tender, and I've not seen this before either, so this will be new to both me and Isha. And then afterwards, Iden, you can tell us a little bit about the story of how you ended up making a song, maybe a little bit about how you make a music video for a song, because it's always a interesting question when, like, music's obviously a very audible only, really, format, but music videos since the 80s has been, like, a whole thing. So I don't know what's changed and what's relevant these days with that. Hopefully this is showing up for everybody in the thing.
Looks good to me.
Yeah. You make me feel real good summer nights is warmer. On a hike, man, I want to explore ya. I don't really give a fuck about your gender. If you say you're a chicken, I'm tender. I'll give you my life as a gesture. Hold on, cause we're going for a ride. No, hold on now. Baby, I don't care what your skeletons look like. I just wanna feel good with you for one night. What you saying, I don't care, get your breath in my ride. If you're feeling me, I'm feeling you too. I can spell it out if you want me to. P-A-N-S-E-X-U. All I'm trying to say is, baby, I'm in love with you.
Someone in the chat there asking about whether you can put stuff up that will be like remixes and things, right? You're a bit sneaky there, Iden, interpolating that song there.
There you go.
Does it count as a cover, or it's a really interesting one actually, because the song you're interpolating, that hook isn't particularly defined.
Well, I did get a cover license.
So you did? Okay, that's interesting.
I did get a cover license. Yeah. The original song is from like the 60s, but obviously the inspiration I pulled from was the like DJ Otzi 2000s like Euro pop version.
That's the one.
And then I know that one from like childhood, and so then I wanted to remix that into like my current generation, like, you know, more fluid sexuality than just like hey girl.
Hey everyone.
Hey everyone.
That was so much fun, and I really enjoyed like even just the way it's mixed kind of reflects the vibe of the song too. Like it's very like light and bouncy, and really like even just it's funny, like mixes can say so much just, you know, on their own, right? Like whether they're aggressive and really, really compressed or more gentle, and I think you really got that like up and down like light feeling. So
thank you
really,
so
really
much.
cool. Yeah,
I wanted to like have it very sparkly. It feel like a wave crashing against you, basically, for the song. That's what I wanted.
What kind of stuff are you mixing with today? Do you have any like favorite plugins or like cool little tips or techniques lately?
I've been mixing a lot with sound theory plugins like Gullfoss and Crafter, and especially Crafter is such a good multi-band compressor that I've just been like. I've been using on every master track, basically, over like a Pro MB or something similar.
Very cool.
And about the video, who did you get to film you? Because obviously you can't really do those sort of 2000s digicam shots by a tripod. Doesn't work.
Right. So this song probably wouldn't have come out if it wasn't for my partner right now. And he really pushed me to have a video with it and to finish out the track. So he filmed it all, he edited it all, and he pushed me to really finish it out and release it. And so it turned out amazing to us.
Yay, that makes me smile so much, because the same thing is happening with me and my partner, because he used to be a videographer, and so
great.
All the new videos that I've done so far for the album, which are really nice, he's basically made them because he's so good with lighting and videography, and it's really nice to just have somebody that supports you also, just contributing to the artistic thing. So really, and maybe that's also how the feeling is so cohesive, because the video is also very bouncy and light, and everything is really reinforcing this energy, which could apply to a lot of different things as well. So good pop
I feel like
as well.
You're working with someone you have such a good connection with. It comes out in the product as well of it all.
Definitely. So cool.
That's so cool. Thank you.
Yay. We should.
Well
I hope
done.
we get more music videos. It's really
Yeah,
fun
I hope
to
so
just
too.
see that. Yay.
Yeah, see me perform.
Yes. Are you doing any performances or?
Actually, yes. I'm performing tonight and tomorrow night in California. I'm DJing tonight at like a cannabis dispensary in West Hollywood, and tomorrow I'll be DJing at the Firehouse PB in San Diego. So if anyone's in the Southern California area and wants to come see some like groovy Afro house and chill house and tunes, it'll be really fun.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. And then I will be performing a few gigs, a few dates in August in London. I just have to confirm those. But I'm going to be performing original music and traveling with a couple other guys too. So that should be super fun. I'll be in London this August.
What? Do you know at all when in August?
I think I would say like from the 12th to the 17th. We have like a few dates planned out, but just like really penning them in right now.
It's not fair. I'm
super
busy
cool.
then.
Oh no!
I'm already getting
would've been
booked in for
amazing.
things months in advance as well, so it's tricky sometimes.
I know, yeah.
Well, that's congratulations, though. I'm really happy to see you thriving. Natty, who do we have in the queue? I think Foot said they had to go for a minute, so they said to push them back a little bit.
Push them back. Well, then we've got Nix 200, Agent 34. I believe I've seen. Yep, they're in the chat there. So we'll do them next then. This is Gravel.
All right.
This is their. I don't know what number of song this is because the last time around they came along, it was their first song. This was not their first. It'll be their second, maybe their third. How far along are you, Agent 34? Tell us. It's been a month. Fourth. Okay, so you've been working on 3 tracks since we last saw you. That's brilliant. This is Gravel.
How do you feel as the start time approaches? It doesn't feel like yours.
That was Gravel by Agent 34, aka Nix 200. This is their fourth track. I can definitely hear they've got sort of a fixation. I do remember your last song that you submitted to us, which was in the same sort of genre space. I feel like this one, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to keep this sort of gritty, like it's been sampled off a sort of overused vinyl kind of sound, but it's verging on being too distorted to the point where it's not quite so pleasing to listen to. I don't know whether you guys will disagree with me on that one or not, but
I mean, I think like, especially like it's your fourth track, amazing again. Like my tracks were like not that good, at least until probably like the 10th one. So, you know, you've got the vibe down, and that's like the hardest thing to learn. So I think you have that as a core, but Natty is right. Like there's there's a lot of dirt going on, and like I say this, like, I don't know, at least once every 3 months on the stream, right? Is you have to get clean before you can get dirty. So now that you've made a few tracks, just play around with EQ a little bit more, see what kind of things you can cut out that don't need to be there, and then after you've done that, that's when you add distortion. So like cut a lot of low end off of stuff that isn't bass, and then, you know, don't worry too much about specifics, don't try to be perfect, just sweep it up and down and see when you miss it, and then roll it back, right? That's like what day one audio stuff. Aiden and I, full disclosure, are both teachers, so I'm sure he has something that he always sort of says too. I don't know if you have general advice for beginners like this.
I mean, yes, of course. I think I agree with you guys about on the mixing aspects that there's a little bit of muddiness in general. So maybe just going like element by element and kind of being intentional with like how you want that kick to sound, now how you want that snare to sound. Just like you can make kind of bold choices, but you don't have to like spend 30 minutes on a snare, but you could just like make a bold choice, stick with it, and see how that lines up against other choices you're making in the song. I'd say only other couple things was like that main stab that you have. I'm loving like the melody that you're playing with there. I just think that you could maybe compress the actual whole track as whole channel as well. It might open up some room for some like other little elements, like little arpeggiators and things that might give some dynamics to the track as well. But the vibe is definitely there too. I think like makes me want to race in a rally car.
Yeah, yeah. And I might consider like maybe later on in the track, like adding one new thing, because I think like the whole track kind of does the same thing. And it's like, I also get where you're going with the retro sound, where like that's just the way that we used to make tracks. I was also there playing vinyl, and like you had like the 2-minute intro and the 2-minute outro plus the 3-minute track so that you could mix in and out. And like, I know that that's also probably what you're trying to do, but I think you still could do one more part, even if it's just one tiny little new motif or arpeggio, which like Aiden was saying, once you make room for that, you could add a little sparkly part that comes in the second half. It just keeps you interested, right? Just something small like that.
I find it interesting, like how deep sampling can go and how weird people can get with it. Like there was so it just popped up on like my TikTok thing. Sometimes apparently once in a billion years it can actually send something good. It was about one of these tracks. It was like 1998 or something. I can't remember. Like the name of the track has come off my head of the moment, but it's one of those really, really famous ones. But the sources for the samples were like it's sampling around 20 or 30 completely different tracks from all across the 60s through to the like so 50s even. So I think there was a couple of things from the 50s, and it was all sorts of weird stuff like like just one little bit of percussion from a Disney musical track from like and this spoken word bit from from the intro to a jazz record, and it's the song. I know the hook's just completely. It's like in my head and not out my head. Like my brain's just completely screwed itself over on that one. Celebrate you, baby. I like to treat you how I, or something like that. Praise you. That was it. You know the song.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm trying also not to get us completely copyright striked as well, but that's a weird one. But it's it's just he was doing this obviously on a 4-track tape mixer and just flicking back and forth with get the bits he wanted and keep them looping and stuff. But it's the sourcing that's the actual art to that process, not the tech.
Yeah,
and I think that with retro, like I see what you're trying to do with this track, and it maybe that's something to go really deep and see if you can find some really obscure bits and pieces that actually fit within your texture.
Yes. I want to give a shout out to the people in the chat joining us. Shout outs to Fute9, XE Fusion, Fifi30, first time here. Nice to see you. Alfie Q, Agent 34DE, who we just heard. Energy Music, also nice to see you. And Thorn Root, also first time here. So the way that this works, if anybody is new here, which clearly some of you are, is that we do this pretty regularly. We're based on the EDMP Discord, but we're also connected to the International Live Beat channel, hence our Twitch handle. And basically basically the concept is the same. We just love to support up and coming producers. We love to share knowledge. We love to just be human beings chit-chatting about all kinds of stuff. So yeah, who's next in the queue, Natty?
So go play Energy next, and then after that, Fleet9, who has returned from the dead to join us. Energy is sent as an Audius link. We do like Audius. It's high resolution, no adverts. Always recommendation on that one. See if you can understand the theme with triumphant Earth ship versus mysterious alien vessel. Overall, I'm just wanting feedback. I haven't really had any inspiration to change anything here. So I guess if we have any interesting references, then let's roll those out. This is Alien Encounter by Energy.
Yeah.
Whoa. Whoa. What is happening, Nathaniel? What?
I think it needs to be more menacing, personally. Like,
Lean in.
it's like, I think you need to lean into that creepy vibe a little bit, because you're trying to, you said it, or you can pick up the triumphant theme, and the problem is triumph only happens as an emotion after a sense of adversity. And you sort of start with it being already in a kind of a good mood, so you really need to start really evil sounding and then give us yeah. Grags can't stop being funny. Keychain sound like going from enjoying the night and suddenly Taco Bell hits.
The low part of your stomach. Yeah. I mean, I think that actually, like, I'm not going to disagree. I'm going to kind of give another spin on it. I think you can be triumphant from the beginning, but that key change is like Rag said, it's the opposite. That makes you feel like something has just suddenly gone way bent. Like, without talking about inappropriate things on stream, it'd be like, oh, that thing that I took is actually not the thing that I thought it was.
That's called Chipotle.
Yeah, let's just call it Chipotle. That burrito is not the burrito I was looking for. but yeah, and I know that like you're really twisting the harmonics, but I think there is a balance with dissonance where like there are still frameworks that you have to follow. You can't go insane on every angle. You have to give us something to hold on to. It's like if you're gonna have a storm all around me, I need like one post so that I don't fall off the ship and drown. It's just like it was because it was so normal and it was so repetitive, and then it was just like so I get what you're going for, and I think it's actually a really cool idea. It's really surprising, but I think you have to just keep something that is not like, because especially if you're going to be triumphant, that is the opposite. You're just like, I was triumphant, and then I messed up. What do you think, Nat?
I think like if that was the intention, the key change is to be like a little bit dissonant. I think that there just needs to be a bit more maybe like finesse to it. Like either you are transitioning with more sound effects into that section. Maybe you're taking part of the melody of like that A section right before we drop into the key change. We maybe take away some of the melodic elements so we have some space. And so then like when we go into a key change, we're kind of not expecting the same exact melody. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the drums also could have might be like mixed up. I think they could have been more in your face a bit. And that bass with like the big blaring distortion on it, however nice that is, I feel like could leave some room for some other details.
Yeah, and actually you have such a good point about making the transition like that was also it. It's like a bit of a rude slam, and it's still the same part, but it just now sounds wrong. I think like if you listen to like a lot of stuff that EPROM has been involved with, like Shades, he does that sort of thing really well. Like he'll change parts of the song into something totally chaotic, but there's always like a transition that is totally batshit crazy, but brings you from A to B. So like you said, it could just be like some really messed up like Aphex Twin, Arca type of drum fill, like
right.
blah, blah, blah. And then you're ready for it to slam. And then also, like as others have said, do a little bit of a different part rather than, just bending it out of shape, I think. Because key changes are cool, but
key changes are cool, and vibe changes can be really fun too. I mean, it's a slightly different intention, but I'm gonna recommend the song Doom Scroller by Metric, because it goes from this sort of edgy techno vibe. But it has a bridge that's almost a complete 180 in terms of the emotional intention of the song, because it's switched out from the mindset of the protagonist who is just a complete doom and gloom. They've gone on bed rotting type vibe, to the people around them who are like, look, we still care about you, and it's a really, really cool transition. And I think it's a very good example of how you can flip the script in your emotional storytelling without it being dissonant and completely off the rails. So I would recommend that one. Next up, we have Fweet, aka Clear. Everyone's got 20 aliases. First time making this kind of music, looking for feedback on the mix and composition. And then after this, we have XE Fusion, who I have seen in the chat there. So let's go. This is Phonophage.
Fute wanted to add in the chat that they would also like some feedback on the sound design of the bass.
Okay, we'll keep an ear out for that then. I don't know what artcore means. You'll have to explain that one to me as well. So my first thought, and you're asking about the bass sound design. The problem is your bass is kind of not there because the drums are really flabby, and it's actually taking away from what you're trying to do with your bass sound design. Like, right now, it's the tail of your kick is just swallowing every other aspect of your bass sound design, and that it feels like counter to what you were trying to get away with.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I like the idea. I can tell what it's trying to be. And I think you actually really nailed the upper part of it. So it's like reminding me, but it does, you're right. There is like the low, warm, lovely part of it that's being lost. So, yeah, I do like it. I like it a lot. But Nathaniel's right, I think.
I do too. I think it's fun. I think that the drums though could be like maybe tightened up a little bit on kind of all those transients. You could just, if you can somehow have a transient shaper to tighten all that up, you can get like the kind of clicky percussiveness of those really, really fast drum breaks, and can kind of discern them, I think, easier. And I think that kick, yeah, just like Nathaniel said, a shorter tail, maybe a little bit lower in the mix, while still, having that impact maybe through some side chain or some other. I also, at the beginning, would have loved some kind of like high pass, maybe introduction to the breaks that was happening. I just thought it was a bit sudden, but otherwise it was a fun track.
Yeah, there was a lot of like storytelling and a lot of stuff going on, and it was chaotic, but I did feel like it was a really strong melodic theme too. So I think what Nathaniel said could sort of apply to your whole mix, because there's a lot of like really compressed stuff, but then other stuff that's sort of just being buried because there's just only so much room in the there's so much room, right? So, yeah, I would just work on that, because when you have that much going on, you have to be super clean, right? You have to really, really clean up every single piece because you've got so many different pieces going on. But it's worth it. And really, really, if it's your first time making that style, that's not the easiest style to nail. That's a lot of like complex sort of musical progression and really tight edits. And, it's clear that you've got like some experience with other styles, I would think, because it's definitely like, you seem like you've tried a few things before. So I think you can now that you've got the elements, sort of go all the way with it and just let the mix breathe a little bit more, because it's got lovely Rags. It's not. I don't think it's too late to submit something. How is the queue doing, Nathaniel?
We've got a bit of room in the queue still, so go ahead.
Nice. One before we play the next one, I want to talk about Ableton extensions. Is anybody?
Oh yes, I haven't had a chance yet, but this is interesting actually. Stephanie spelled that right. It fulfilled a functional requirement that I was trying to get out of Max for Live and couldn't, because so Max for Live is Ableton's prior plugin format where you can kind of build scripts that do interesting things and then make custom plugins, but it only works within this sort of sandbox, and its limitations aren't actually well documented, right? Because even though you can load things like a JavaScript module node, it doesn't tell you that Ableton effectively made their own custom syntax. Certain things don't exist that are in mainstream JavaScript, which is a freaking pain in the ass when you try to do something like automate a sample export in a particular way. So, and then they come along, and after I've done all this work having to basically externalize most of this plugin I was working on, they go and use this extension thing that could have bloody well done the thing that I wanted in the first place.
Well, I'm excited to see what people do. I've already had people texting me being like, yeah, I've made this like sample editor that blah, blah, goes in and generates this. And so it's kind of just like, it's open season now. XC in the chat says they've been working with it. I know you're an Ableton person too. Have you done anything or been playing with it?
I haven't checked it out yet, but I really am gonna like try to do some deep diving and find some ones and dig around, because it sounds so fun. I feel like they should have just named it Max 5 Live, just like package it all together.
I'm pretty sure that the folks behind that would be very annoyed if they'd done that.
Right, different company.
Yeah. Because that's the other thing. Max for Live is an external company, and Ableton's adopted their framework for within Live, right? Extensions are entirely in-house with Ableton, using open source frameworks as their, like particularly with JavaScript, as their setup for that. which is great for everyone else because it's like more accessible, and it means that there's more chance for people to make add-ons that improve, like making extensions even more accessible. You could make an extension manager extension that allows you to build more extensions, which is very recursive, I know, but
Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully, maybe over the next week we can keep a discussion going, and like, just I want to see what people are making, because I know, like, now that I work in product design for, you know, a certain large company, I'm on the other side of like all those times that you're like, why didn't X company do Y? There was probably engineer and designer Z that wanted to do it, and they just couldn't because of budget or timing. There's just like so many complexities. So like when you remove that, and when you just sort of give this little bite-sized thing for people to just directly make anything they want, some really exciting things can happen, right? And low stakes and everything. So this is, it's a really fun playground.
I've already got 20 ideas. Like, I've got my little open source synth in somewhere else behind my bed, I think. And I'm already thinking, well, it has a teeny weeny amount of memory, right? And I could make custom sound profiles for that with like what's it called? Convolution responses and that kind of stuff. And I could, in theory, just script that entirely in Ableton extensions and have it output correctly to the right plugin format. So that's some cool. Like, there's lots of that's just off the top of my head based on what I have already. Like it's crazy and fun.
Nuts. Cool.
Super fun.
Let's
Who's
play
next?
XE Fusion, who is pretending they're new here in their comment. Cheeky. This is Whip Instrumental, which is also very specific.
Great atmosphere.
How much to skip? 2p? I don't I don't remember. It's been so long since I've ever asked anyone to donate to skip.
We don't really have any fixed amount. We appreciate anything that, you know, buys us a coffee. So really just whatever. Send it in and we'll jump the queue. I mean, at least $1, I would guess.
You're welcome.
But yeah, yeah. Let's let Iden give the feedback first. Maybe he was starting to.
Sure, yeah. I think that atmosphere was great, especially in the intro, outro. I think your like build-ups are great. I mean, what Real Music was saying, even more automations would be cool, just to like do even more impact for that really, really dramatic drop. I think it could use a lead, the drop. I think that you could have like some kind of melodic lead going on to kind of give some intrigue melodically as the drop is going on. And then also I just thought in the breakdown, the middle breakdown, there was some kind of like very resonant sub bass happening. I don't know. It could have just been me though, but I think that's
yeah.
what I wrote
don't know,
down.
and I was wondering if Natty, if you accidentally left your mic on or anything, because or it was just it sounded
No,
like a little bit of like.
I turned myself off. I've got a button that like automatically mutes myself, and for some reason that didn't I even tried just turning it up on my headphones, and I don't know what happened there, but it just stayed sort of flat and compressed, and I'm not sure. Well, this is on audio, so it shouldn't be at all, and I'm not sure entirely what happened because I was messing about during the stream on my side as well to see if I could get it louder, and it just wasn't going. Weird. I'm not. Yeah, like you're saying, it's not supposed to sound compressed like that.
Okay.
It's very strange. Like I can't explain it because audience doesn't normally cause issues like that.
No, and I mean, XE Fusion is totally lying. Not their first day here. I've been a huge fan ever since we met them when they were entering a remix contest, and their mixes are like impeccable. So, like, let's just.
Gotcha.
Sorry that the stream has done this to you, but I don't know if it's the stream or audience, but you know, it's.
Well, it was that I was hearing it too. It wasn't the stream. Like I was hearing it weird too, and I don't know. I mean, I'll try refreshing audience to see if it's just because I'm curious now whether it's.
But you know what, dude? Like
weird.
you're so good that I can hear it through that. Like I can hear that your arrangement is really professional, and like if anything, I agree with what other people are saying, and I think it's a whip anyways. So you're in the middle of writing parts, but I would also just say, do at least one thing that's unpredictable at some point, because you're really really good at making a banger, but like almost to the point.
Sorry,
rude. Hella rude. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I think I would just say like you're really really good at just like just churning out these bangers, but like they're so perfect and they make so much sense. And especially now that we're in this, you know, post-human era, I think it would be really cool for you to just do something that I don't expect. Because you've got everything in the exact places I expect, and it's not a bad thing. Like you're gonna license your stuff and you're gonna get mainstream stuff. But again, I think that you as an individual could just create something just a little deviant, a little weird, a strange sounding synth, a couple extra bars or a breakdown in the arrangement, or just. Yeah, it's a little bit predictable at this point. And again, I know that like you're going to get to a later stage where there's more detail in it, but I would challenge you even beyond that to just get a little bent, you know? It's the best way I could loosen up a bit or something. Do something that you deliberately wouldn't do. And I do this, I don't know about you guys, but that's my favorite sort of unblocker or game to challenge myself, is to just block myself from using like a synth I always use or a technique I use, or just, you know, I'm a huge like piano player. So up until a few years ago, I never saw the point of using like chord and voicing type of plugins, but now I'll use them to randomly scramble stuff or to just invert my natural instincts and then force myself to work around them. And then usually it really like just opens a different channel in my brain. So I would say like, even if you just do something weird and you don't keep it, I feel like the process of sort of warping yourself to go there will bring you to a more interesting place in the end, you know?
Mm-hmm. Anything to get your creative mind in a new light, like to get working again, is going to be really beneficial.
Oh, and I just want to shout out Energy Music, who said having a full-time job with lots of overtime makes it really, really hard to put the effort in and work on stuff. I can totally relate, and just want to say shout outs to everybody who is hustling, which is like almost everyone in the world. I think even like full-time musicians are work double time, and some of them are working extra jobs on the side or just hustling twice as hard. It is a crazy time, and it doesn't matter. Just what I've had to teach myself is if you have 30 minutes to be in the studio, that's better than not going at all. Don't hold yourself up against, I used to have this stupid thing of like, if I don't have 8 hours to work on music, then I'm just not going in here at all. And it's like, I don't think as a person at my age and point in life that I'm going to have 8 hours free very often. Right. So, and that's my friend Starkey, who's somebody I really look up to. If you haven't heard of him, he's an incredible producer, Starkey. He's just a OG, and he's got kids, and he's a teacher. And I asked him once, I'm like, how are you this like killer producer putting out albums? And that's basically what he said to me. He's like, I go in there whenever I can. If I have 10 minutes, I pop in there and do something for 10 minutes. And then if I've just learned to just drop right in and make the most of my time. So I think even that is like putting your brain into a different space and putting a set of limitations on it. So I would super recommend that you just bend yourself around a little bit. Cool.
I have briefly paused the queue. We're up to 21 total submissions for the stream tonight. If we make it to the end with still energy, then we will reopen it. I do want to reinforce what you were saying as well, Isha. Like, I'm working on my second album, and it may not sound like a lot, but I've been effectively right now scoping the entire thing out just in text and voice memos to myself. And I've just been experimenting because it's very lyrically and vocally driven anyway. I've just been experimenting and revising the concept and the framework for it that way. Before I've even remotely touched my DAW, like there's nothing in there that's produced at the moment. But I'm still working on the music, And that's there's so many different ways you can do that just to get your brain working and make a little bit of a difference. Like, even if it's just polishing one sample that you really want to use somewhere, that's still progress to your music.
Natty, I don't know if you're comfortable giving out your PayPal, or maybe we have a PayPal in the OBC, but people are trying to tip and it's not working. So since you always collect them anyways, if you want to figure out something.
We'll chat after the stream. Like right now, the gifted stubs are obviously, that's an easy way to donate to Twitch. But just tell me you're going to donate, and then I'll just trust that you're going to donate, basically. And we'll figure it out afterwards.
Aw, you're so
I feel
nice.
like that's...
All right, I guess we got Thundy the Griffin then. So,
Yep,
yes, we will count this. We know your intention. And be sure to read the description.
This
Yes,
is an
sir.
orchestral fusion piece in which I use break samples. This was the first time I've used break samples as an orchestral fusion composer. I still need to add a few more layers to the end part. Be sure to read, doing that bit. I'd like feedback on the balance and how well the break samples meld with the overall piece and the elements. This is Dream It, Think It, Build It. And it's about Lego. So, there you go.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Super, super creative. I got a lot of feedback to give you. So, again, because now I'm old and the rave cycle has changed, I will give you a small background of I started out as a jungle MC and DJ. And that's how I got into stuff. I started rapping and singing at parties and touring. And when I started, a lot of this stuff was going on. And so I definitely know a lot about being somebody who comes from like a classical background like you are, because I played piano, and moving from that into more sort of like dissonant and experimental break music. And I think like, yeah, it's obvious that you have like really, really cool melodic skills, and that's really, really fun. With the breaks, there's a lot of stuff that you can do to make them glue better. And first of all, I would start with the breaks themselves. You're using a lot of different samples of people that are amazing drummers playing in amazing pockets, but there's a bunch of different pockets. And that is what is making it really unglued first off the bat. There's some mixing stuff, which I'll get back to. But like, first of all, and I don't know what DAW you're using. If it's Ableton, then, you know, I'm biased, of course, but it's very, very easy to sort of slide time stretch around. And other DAWs, you know, not like they cannot do that necessarily, but the workflow in Ableton is kind of optimized for that. But basically, you need to figure out which pocket is yours. And then I'm not at all saying that you need to quantize everything on beat. That's terrible. I mean, that's the reason we love aim and breaks, is because you get this natural groove by layering them. But they all need to fall in line to one, right? So some of them are going to need to be nudged a little bit if you want to use them as they are. Or I might also just say simplify it. You like chop up a couple of breaks more rather than like 6 different breaks in big chunks, because then you get more variations and you're also coming from the same pocket. So Studio One, I don't know if anybody else has used Studio One. I'm afraid that's one of the ones I've like never even seen in real life. So I don't know what you could do, but like, I'll tell you what I would do in Ableton, and I'm sure that there's probably a plugin, right? Is I would take a simple sampler and I would just like first make sure that my sample is like relatively time stretched, you know, like the things are hitting kind of, at least it's the right tempo. And then I would just slice it up on different beats. And then I would actually replay those on a MIDI keyboard. And again, I'm a piano player, so if you don't play a keyboard, you could also just mash around on the piano roll, right? But you really need to get them in line a little bit. And right now I can hear the transition because one of them changes to the other and the other is like on a totally different side of the pocket. So first, minimize those, like, or you can either like time stretch them so that they're in the same pocket, or use less of them and chop them up more, right? Once you do that, once you have a smooth transition, then you can start playing with EQ and filtering and bus processing, right? Because another way that you can glue together a bunch of breaks to make them smoother is apply processing across the whole thing. So if you have them all under a group track, you could put effects across that whole thing. Like you could have a reverb that you send a little bit to each one, you just to put them in the same space and to smooth them out. And then like another trick is to sort of filter or EQ as you go in between them and automate that so that you just don't notice, you don't hear the edges of them, right? But honestly, I would just go back first and see how much you can do with just one of those breaks and slicing it in a sampler and replaying those things. Because I think right now your pieces are too big as well, right? You're just using like 2 bars from the one drummer and 2 bars from another. And the way to chop up sample like this is like, you know, like you almost just want to be hyper scrambling and doing stuff. Or like I said, you can use more breaks, but they have to be in that same pocket. And your orchestration is so unique and interesting and good that I really don't want that breaks to distract from that. So yeah, I don't know. I know that you've showed us a lot of really cool tracks with a lot of crazy breaks and beats going on. Like, do you have some favorite ways to sort of glue it together for Thundy?
Yeah, I mean, this is another Ableton thing, so it's not really that helpful. I'm sorry. But one thing I like to do when I layer different breaks together and I'm using different kinds of samples is using Ableton's groove feature. So that's really going to like kind of quantize all these kind of different breaks that might have a different sort of groove to them. And yeah, quantize them to one groove, and then they will all kind of stack up on each other a little bit nicer. And just like what you're saying, definitely some bus mixing, whether it's going to be compression or some EQ. I think the breaks in this track could use some EQ and compression for sure. They could come down in the mix a bit to me. And I feel like the strengths of this track definitely lie in the orchestration and in the composition. How it evolves over time is really interesting to listen to, but I think the breaks kind of take you out of it. So if you want to be intentional with how you're using those breaks, I'd say a lot of what Isha was saying with chopping up maybe one break and being more intentional about how you're timing those would probably help mesh the two ideas together a little better.
I find it interesting actually combining breaks and orchestra from a spatial perspective, because most breaks when they're sampled are like super close to the microphone, super cramped. And orchestra, meanwhile, is the polar opposite. It's a huge space. And it's you've almost got to make a decision about which you care about more, because you can't do both simultaneously. So I would have a conversation with yourself about exactly which room your performance, so to speak, is being set in. Because although you've got your crazy drummer with their mad breaks playing inside the same room as the orchestra, or you've got the orchestra being used as like a sample where it's actually being remixed by a DJ instead with your breaks on top. That's kind of your two ways to picture it, I would say. So thank you for your submission. Hopefully I'm just gonna reset my voice meter thing because I'm still concerned about the okay, it should be us back. Okay, so next up we have thank you for your donation, Cito, aka I've already forgotten your username even though I looked it up a second ago. It's in the chat. Sinner, get ready. That's the we'll get there in the end. They're looking to know if this song resonates with people, and by people they mean the general public. So I guess stick your normie hat on. And
Okay.
let's see if this is a normie friendly beat. Although it says all music genres as a tag, can anything be all music genres at once? And is that accessible? Is it
Very
all
universal.
go. That was OMDS by Sito. And,
Or is it Sinner Get Ready?
well, it's like they've apparently got 5 aliases, so there we go.
Right.
Why do people do this to me? It's confusing. I'm barely bad enough with names as it is. Would this be mainstream in its current state? No, it's more of a like lounge background bar kind of vibe, but that's not something that people would want to pay attention to. Like Max saying that an upfront lead element that steals their attention and catches their ear is, oh wait, this is not your track, then who's... I guess I've missed, so I don't know anymore what's happening. So where is your... Did I paste the wrong link? Apparently I didn't play Sinner Get Ready's track. I'm very sorry. So who stood up? Who is Sito then?
Is OMDS?
Like that's the name of the track. I'm very confused about whose track I played then. Because they're not in the... the form is...
Okay.
I don't know what's happened.
Okay, let's figure out whose track it is. But in the meantime, is that the right feedback then? Is that person even asking us that?
No,
like
who did because no, Sinner Ready just wanted general feedback. I just must have skipped one ahead. Oh, you've got to skip unintentionally. So the feedback on that one was definitely, but it's not what Sinner wants on their track. So I don't know what's happened in the form. It was meant to be directing me to the right one, and it didn't. Now I'm very lost.
So is it Sito? Yes, that's who it is. Okay, I found it. Yeah, that was.
You found it?
Yeah, they were. That is the right feedback. It's okay.
Okay.
You just had the wrong name.
Just to the wrong person.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, the general public. So I said this in the chat. It was really uncanny because I was just like literally my partner has a very, very different musical background. So I'm kind of like sometimes when we go on road trips, we'll show each other music from our lives. And so I was showing him The Orb, which is, if you don't know The Orb, person who made this track, you should definitely check them out because they're like one of the linchpins of electronic music. And it reminded me so much of something that would have been on one of their albums. The only problem is that is underground rave as hell, and that is in like 1990 whatever. So I would say if you're trying to make something mainstream, the first thing you have to do, the comment I was actually going to give you before Max said a very similar thing, was that my ears are a little bit fatigued because you have a lot of melodic pingy things going on, but they're all mixed kind of the same and in the same space. So my brain doesn't know what it's supposed to pay attention to. So I was like, even though it was very melodic, I was having a hard time figuring out what the melody was. I was just kind of like, bing, 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 bing. And like, oh, like it was almost like a binaural beats demo. Big shouts out to Ivy and Mr. Rogueblades too. But yeah, I think if first you have to figure out which part is the lead, and you have to really bring it forward and make it like keep it simple, stupid. That whole thing, that saying is like, if you're trying to make it for the normie hat type of people, you have to make it simple. I just saw something so interesting on YouTube yesterday that's like this. It's called Gen Alpha Melody. And it's this guy, if you should look it up later, and he basically breaks down how like hundreds of songs right now are all using the exact same melody. It's not even like the one note thing that is just sort of an abstract concept that we do. It's like a very, very specific melody that they use over and over again. And I was just sitting there like, I'm the opposite of this. And I'm just saying to my partner, like, oh my God, like I don't even like the original one. And like, why do people keep accepting this over and over again? And he's just like, that is what normal people want. They want familiarity. They want to hear something they recognize. That's why we keep remaking movies, right? That's why we keep just people like know stuff they already know. And like when I started DJing and I realized that my music was too weird, I learned pretty quickly to do mashups and to double drop with like familiar acapellas, because people will dance to your weird beat with no diggity over top of it. I mean, results may vary depending on what your weird beat is, but the shorthand for what I'm trying to say is like, if you can bring, and I said this to one of the last people, you need to give me a post to hang on. You need to give me a lead element. And for the normie people, you need to like kind of just hold their hand, right? So, you know what I mean, Aiden? Like,
Totally. Yeah. you have to basically, I was going to say, you have to be super intentional about your instrumentation and your melodies. I think like while it was super nice going on in the background, especially that kind of steel drumsy, piano plinky melody in the background, but it's a little, everything is a little like washy. And so if you are a little more intentional about like what elements you want to be most prominent, that might like give focus to those aspects. And like for a normie who isn't used to like experimental music, they want something to like catch and remember. And obviously they don't, I think, want to think too hard about what's going on in the back of the track. If there's a possibility for you to get a vocal in there, I think some other comments were saying that too, but either like a studio or a vocal sample, I think to be, to be generalizing, normies love a vocal in their songs as well.
I like how we just have this sort of like alien form of these normie people that we have observed previously. They are prone to certain behaviors in the wild.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I've made music for licensing. I do that. I've done that before, and like you really have to swallow your originality and just be like, what would I expect to happen, or like what would my mom expect to happen right now, right? That's just kind of like,
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and you don't go too crazy because it makes people anxious, right? It's the same thing about social media, right? Have you ever noticed that like you like put all this effort into like, look at me doing this crazy performance and it's really cool and I've edited it and it's amazing, and then like nobody watches it and you're like, look at like this close up of my face or this like video of me in my shower just talking about something. It's because it's easy for people to understand. When it's easier for them to understand, they relate to it more, right? So there is a nice balance, right? If you're a really good mainstream artist where you've hit that note of being accessible while having your own flavor. I'm not telling you to sell out and do that, like just bend to everybody's will, but figure out how to keep the quirkiness that you have, but bring in something that holds grandma's hand while the song goes on, right? All right.
I feel like it's a bit cruel to refer to yourself as Grandma, Isha.
Hey. Wow. I'm being zinged. Shh.
This is Sinner Get Ready, who thank you for your donation, and this is just general advice is the feedback for this one. So we got it all correct this time.
love hardcore and I don't even love metal, and I loved that. Like that, the energy, the vibe, the change ups, the cheekiness, like that was really, really fun. And like I said, like I'm not coming from a place of generally being fans of that style, but that was like, that made me smile and it made me feel like I was partying. But like a lot of the time that sort of flavor will make me feel like partying in a gross 7 a.m. The sun has just come up and everybody looks horrible way. And you actually were like, you pushed me back to like when the night is still fun. So sweet spot.
11:30 p.m. Yeah. That was very fun. Very dynamic. Kept it interesting. The bass and like maybe the first drop or so kind of reminded me a bit of like a recent kind of Skrillex bass. I think maybe the only thing, maybe if you wanted to add some more like snare or clap fills to give a little bit of dynamics, I didn't really hear many of those. So that could just be fun as little washes of brightness in between the sections. Otherwise, yeah, really fun. That was cool.
Natty,
I
thoughts?
I think you could do with trying to get a remix of your own track. See if you can find some really edgy punk Riot Girl type band and get them to do a vocal remix of this. Because so you're already sort of hinting at that with the background little vocal samples that you're sort of twisting, and I think it could take it to the next level personally. Just get someone who's really, really, really pissed off at all the men in the universe, and that could be really fun.
Really funny.
Rage.
Thoa said, I would break my neck on rave listening to this. It reminds me, when I used to live in San Francisco in the Bay in like the 2010s, that was one of the expressions when like somebody made a really stanky beat, was like, I need a neck brace.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Head banging too hard.
Yeah. All right, who's up next? Let's keep moving.
So
see
Max,
what we get
who
to.
is an old-time member of the Discord and has been on this.
Max from Egypt.
Yep. So this track is called Face Yourself. The only notes here is Egyptian Brazilian hybrid track. So I guess we'll find out what that means. This is Face Yourself.
Aguanta. matar.
Yalla!
Yalla, yalla. That was dope.
That was so sick.
Listen, I gotta go grab someone from my door really quick, but I want to give my opinion real quick on this. Just real quick first. I did not know Brazilian rhythms and Egyptian rhythms would work so well together, but like whenever they really were intermingling was like the best parts of that track. The mixing I thought was pretty good all around. I think if anything, you could like, since you're playing so much with space with the drums and with the stabs of chords and stuff in that drop, you could play with like mixing up that rhythm, going into like triplet for a fill, just getting like kind of wonky crazy just for your fills because you have such like a good pulse in the rest of your drop. And then also I thought near the end of your second drop, you could bring in more of those Egyptian, maybe like mahraganat, like Egyptian electronic underground rhythms in, because that would kind of blend the Egyptian side more into that Brazilian funk sort of rhythm you've got going on. But so fun. What a fun track. That was sick.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, go get your door.
Okay, I'll be right back.
We'll keep going.
Yeah.
Max, this is so sick. I want to play this. Can I have this? Is this finished? And if not, can you please send it to me when it is? Because straight up, like, I am just blown away. It's, I'm an old, jaded lady. I'm like 100 years old in rave years. And it's very rare that I hear something that actually makes me go, like, I think that you created something. I love Brazilian influences, right? And I love Middle Eastern music. I am such a rabid fan of both of those. And I have never heard anybody put them together. Like, it really blew my mind, and you did it so well. And lately I've just been really, really vibing with, I guess what they call it these days is global bass, like this sort of like mashup of electronic whatever mixed with a lot of different global cultures and ethnic and cultural music. I'm loving it. So I would totally play it. Right now I'm building a geodesic dome and like a mini stage in my backyard, and I want to start streaming from there and playing stuff like this and doing like light shows and stuff. So selfishly, I just wanted to hog a moment of time to be like, Max, I want this track. But I mean, I'm into it. Natty,
I'm gonna say, I mean, the timestamp on this says 2 years ago. I think you were early on whatever this is, and you need to. I know everyone hates promotion and doing videos and stuff, but you need to go into like, I don't know, steal from Funk, which is still making up really crazy numbers on TikTok with like car edits and stuff, and do a few car edits on TikTok with your track. Because I think that it could pop off really hard.
I really do. I have not heard anything like it. And it's like still like, we had somebody earlier asking about making things accessible. Like this has a lot of the tricks that we were bringing up, right? Like this takes things that are familiar and weaves them in so that when you get something that's new, which is like this crazy beat pattern, it doesn't startle you. Like it transitions into it. And then it also gives you stuff that and it's just like, wow. We love you, Max. That was insane.
Car edit, go viral on TikTok, please.
Oh man. All right.
So next up we have Rags. So honestly, I want to be vulnerable here and get feedback on something I'm not sure about. I love it in spirit, but I really want to dial in how well all the elements are executed. I'm also debating on keeping my own voice for the harmonic parts or not. My intention was to find a crossroads between ethereal, ambient, and late 80s, early 90s hip-hop delivery. Would love your thoughts. Boop. Oh, Rags, you said it's the wrong link. DM me the link.
What
now,
is
please.
this? Your first rodeo? Is this your first rodeo?
All right. While we're waiting for Rags to send a link in, I do want to have a little bit of a small, tiny rant. So one of the earlier entries in the forum, despite everyone saying, even in the event description, no AI, it was definitely AI, because I've been scoping out there. I am going to just publicly name and shame them here. I've been scoping out the Spotify link they sent me, and why they sent me a Spotify link, I don't bloody know. But like, one AI art, please, like it just shows no effort in the presentation, and they've put out so that's 15 songs there, and 1, 2, 3, another 7 EP. Say more singles, another album that's 21 songs, and that's all within the last 5 months. But it's all AI artwork. I expect it's all AI music too from Suno, and it's like, and also just the names are like just so AI too. Like, if I made synth in the 80s, I'm sorry, but that's a shit name for a song. I'm gonna be just that right, Frank. And it's just like, these are not. It's. I was born in the 80s. It's like you're trying to SEO everything. And I know that's mainly what Suno does, where it just creates sort of generic descriptors for things when it generates an output file, because it's like, it's just there so you can find out which file you gave again, right? But it's like, this is not...
No AI. I think maybe we need to like put it in like large letters or something or whatever, because like, honestly, like, here's the thing, like, even if we felt better about it, there's no way to really like give you advice to fix it. Like, it's just going to regenerate it again. And the problem is if you're using AI to snap generate the song, you don't even know enough context to take our feedback. So you're like literally wasting your time and our time. And we are nice people. We don't get mad. Like, Nadia and I are both kittens. You've seen us like dancing and, you know, throwing soup around and stuff. And we love you guys. We love being humans, and we love, like, let me roll back to you another history lesson. Nadia and I have been holding this server down since 2016. I guess, wow, I just realized saying that out loud that this is our 10-year anniversary of the EDMP Discord. And in fact, you know, Thorn Root was just asking, is this just for EDM music? And absolutely not. The name is a bit of a, like, in the description, if you're in the server, you can see it actually says electronic music production and performance. The EDM is because we are actually a direct official channel of the EDM productions subreddit. And that was sort of how we got our baseline established and became a big server. We were a Discord partner for a while, but absolutely, we make all kinds of music, but we make human music. And let me say this, we are not anti-AI carte blanche, like, necessarily, because there are some really cool people like Datamind Audio, who is my friend Ben, who are making plugins and tools where it's like the AI does the stuff that you just don't want to do as a human. But like, if you had a super robot assistant, like, listen to 15 million samples that are similar and tell you which one is the exact one that you need, right? Like the AI should be your bitch. Pardon my French. You should not be its. You should not be its. And when you generate music by pushing a button, you are AI's bitch. So do not do that. And if anyone is in the queue right now and we realize that you have given us an AI song, we are going to flame the hell out of you. I would rather hear you singing off key in your shower than hear your AI prompt. So just in case I wasn't clear, no AI, please.
No AI.
So let's move on.
Let's play
to,
Rags. We got a working link. This is
yeah, Rags is a human.
Very human.
Trying to keep it level, but it never sit politely. Smiling through the static, tight rope on a high beam. Eyes wide shut, like he never seen the bright side. Tell me that I'm up, nothing ever felt right side. They say he falling at his tempo, but it's just birds in the bush, but the hair make it triple. I guess you didn't get the info. Need a scope, you want smoke for the shit behind his tempo. They say he jumping out the window. Same time last week when the Kimbo with his stentos. Mood swings, he got problems with his mental. No, he got doubts that the shit was ever simple. Take time, give it time, it's a process. They say that he talk fast, I think you should talk less. Truth hit heavy when you're living where the pain lurks. Clones in the pipeline, I don't think the brain works. And I might be the only one who saw it. They put dreams in a swisher chase, genies in the bottle. They say he jumping at the 10th floor. Same time last week when the killer with his 10 toes. Mood swings, he got problems with his mental. No, he got doubts that the shit was ever simple.
Yeah,
So-
Rags. I was gonna give you a mock sort of rant, being like, if your vocals are buried again, I'll smack you. But they weren't actually. But they're still very like. You definitely are always processing them to hell, which is not a bad thing. But I think I also want to hear it go different, right? Because the whole track is done, as I said in the chat, inside a payphone, right? So I kind of almost want, like, in the chorus maybe for it to come out and become clean and big and super stereo, or just to like change it up, because then the other vocals in it are also payphony. So it's like, look, like it is cool. It just needs, I want it again. I don't want to just be wondering like what the mid lows of your voice sound like for all time, right? I don't know.
I think
I gotta
I
tease
had the
him
same thought. I had the same thought as well, actually, just in general, because, like that moment right in the outro where the piano suddenly came in up front, right? That was really nice, but we didn't get any other moment like that in the rest of the track, and the bit where you're talking about your vocal effects in yourself with the harmonizing and performance shifting, and it is too similar to the rap, to the point where it's almost like I want to know I'm in the pre-chorus and the hook, right? But you don't really differentiate it in the verses in any particular way with your processing. So it needs a bit more energy and modulation in that sense than it does anything else. Aiden,
Yeah,
thoughts?
I agree with that as well. I think the vocals, I mean, I think Rag said it was one take, maybe, so there's not a lot to play with, but having certain stacks on certain lines, doing different kinds of effects on different lines as well, just kind of giving it some breathing room to like the composition of the track. I think also it could be cool to do a little bit of modulating changes with the piano, whether that's like changing up the pattern, changing up the timbre of the sound in certain sections. That could be cool to kind of keep it interesting, because I think it's a very hypnotic chord progression on the piano. I just think the timbre of it could be also just as interesting.
Nice. But yeah, I mean, I like it. It's solid. I just like I said already, I want it to change a little bit, and I think Natty had a really good way of putting it. Like, I want to know that I'm in the chorus, and that's a little bit of that hand holding, right? And just to say, like, it's not only the normies that need hand holding. We all need it. It's just that, like, you know, I think people who are into more abstract music are open to receiving it in different ways. So yeah. Thank you, Rags. We love you. And yeah, keep going with it. Go crazy. Try some weird stuff. Who's next?
We have Bale. Okay. Fifi30 in the chat there. They mainly call it trance. They're focused mainly on the mix down. So I just want to make sure that nothing's particularly clashing. Clashing in this mix, but I do wish that the composition was a little bit more adventurous, mainly when that piano's introduced at around 122, right? I don't know whether you're familiar with the musician Haywire. Pretty sure it's Haywire. Last I checked.
Yes.
I'm pretty yeah, he's a trained pianist, isn't he? Is it Haywire? Yeah, you've not heard of them. But anyway, that was, people were talking about the old Suicide Sheep.
Yes, Haywire.
So, but he was part of that sort of era of up-and-coming stuff as well, right? But his main thing was that he's playing piano on stage too, while, you know, alongside his EDM stuff. And, you know, it's some really solid, like, noodling and runs in that. And it's a really easy way to provide a bit more energy without dominating the rest of your track. Because obviously, if you're using, I don't know, super saws or something, that'd be really over the top and on there in a way that's distracting. But you've got a really nice piano sound. It just needs to be doing something a little bit more interesting than what you got doing right now.
Yeah, I kept sort of like hearing or something in my head that I wanted, like a higher part, a really high, like just really light, really floaty, really tasteful, like definitely nothing in your face or up front, because I think what you have is lovely, and I would hate to destroy that vibe. But I mean, just like whether it's a floaty vocal or like a tiny, really high sort of thing that kind of comes in, like I was kind of humming along the whole way just because I missed that. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
think that would be cool to have something even later on.
Something like that, even like a little like floating muted little pluck playing above in the top. I was thinking, especially at the end of that first drop when there's like a tremolo effect happening on those chords, that could be a perfect place to add in an additional sort of syncopated melody, which might add some nice interest. But I thought that was mixed really well, especially the drums and the bass were meshing really well to me.
Yeah, well done. Really, really pleasing. Like I actually kind of want to listen to it again later. Like it just makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
Really soft, but also crisp, which is really tricky, right? It's really easy to get too resonant and have a lot of sharp things poking out, but like to have that warmth and softness and still have definition is good.
I'm getting confused with people's names, right? So it's next up is Thorn Root on that one. Sorry. Getting order of who's who. Everyone's confusing with 20 aliases. This is next up. We got Bolero, who goes by the Twitch alias Ryu. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just getting confused with everyone's names. What could I do to get my song to sound more professional? I think maybe we should talk a little bit, but before we even listen to this song, like about the word professional. Like I expect, I'm gonna ask you both blind now. What is the first thing you think when you hear the word professional, ill-esha? And then I want to hear your automatic thinking on that as well. Just no deep thought, just the first thing that comes to mind.
Polished.
Aiden?
Yeah, I'd go like intentional and executed well.
And why do you think that those are the things that define polished versus amateur? Because I know that a lot of folks, when I'm online, when they're talking professional, they're really meaning makes money, which is a very different thing, right?
Huh. Yeah, that's tricky because I would immediately just feel like when I say professional, I mean like has that last 10% done, which, you know, a lot of the time I do actually believe in getting someone else to master your stuff generally, unless like there's some people who are absolute like savants with that stuff. You know, I'm not including them, but generally it's sort of like when you write a book, you always have an editor that isn't you because it's just good to have another pair of fresh eyes, or in this case, ears on it. So I think that when I think professional, like for my own stuff now, there was a period of time where, you know, I was trying to raise the goats, as they say, where I was like, I was living in the Bay, again, back to these days, with these like serious hip hop heads where it was like, if you didn't synthesize your kick drum from the bare waveform on this retro keyboard and then chop everything in the Akai, it's not real music. And it really scarred me. And for years, I was just like sitting there sweating and like, I'm going to be blunt. Like, I really don't like the last 10%. The part where it's just like, is the kick too loud or is the sub too loud? Is it or like that part drives me mental because I am expressive. I am a creative who became technical because I just had lots of weird creative ideas, but not because I loved that part of the process. So I just think professional is just having that polish, and most people think that they can do it all alone when it would probably be better to, at the very end, get a mastering. But is that really what you've experienced, Nadia? People are just like professional as in like sell the most records? Like, is it poppy
but it's like, you're not just confined to music, right? I see it a lot just in conversations about art in general. And it's the infection of hustle culture, I think, that's done it, right? It's this idea that you're all grinding to be an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur is not an artist. They're not the same thing, and it's just really weird. Like, I would agree with you personally in that there's a reason a lot of the majors, at least, do have dedicated mixing and mastering engineers on retainer to get the best possible sound out at the end. And like, we can be critical about the contents and the fact that a lot of things are like, it can get quite bland in terms of meaning because it's trying to be
cookie
corporate
cutter
friendly. Yeah. But they still see the value in having these mixing and mastering engineers who are not the same person as the artist to get that professional level quality out of the whole thing.
Well, it seems like Ryo has the same idea as us in this case, so I think referring to the mix and master and the overall glue of the thing.
Oh, is this the right one? Is this? No, I
No,
thought I
that's the
just
last
played
one.
There.
That's the last one.
That's definitely not the right link. It's like, this link's familiar. Why can't I? This is not copying links. Come on, work.
Technical
It's
difficulties.
Firefox
Please
is just
stand by.
not behaving right now. There we go.
But
Alright, I Am With You by Bolero. Let's go. Make sure my volume's up. Yep, it's definitely there. Let's go! I'm going to bring it down a little bit and we can chat over the top about there. Should be alright. Rag saying, this sounds like welcome to not another tech industry where we make industry-leading modules that are technically too technical but technically improve corporate efficiencies.
I can see that.
Yeah, and I mean the point is very meta that you've turned it down and we can talk over it and it actually works very well. Like
Right.
this would be great, and this is not an insult. This is like straight up, if you feel like making money off of this would be great licensing music. This would be great what we call underscore, because as you can see, there's enough going on that it's nice, but it's sort of like got a lot of space and it's not like too evolving so that people can talk about it. So it kind of depends on what you're trying for. Like, if you want to make background music, then maybe it's good. But if you want to catch the attention, then it needs a lot more dynamic changes and parts, I think, right?
With the new AI agent, you can find yourself a new agent for your AI. Spend
smarter.
tokens, please.
Think harder. Think less. AI.
Claude, we want your brain.
Oh my god. This is
You could, yeah. I mean,
With Microsoft Copilot, Copilot plus Microsoft Copilot Pilot Co, you will find that Outlook is better than ever, and by that we mean worse than ever. It now requires 32 gigabytes of RAM minimum, 512 gigabytes of storage, and that's before you actually store any emails. And we've been really, really excited to show you that it links with your Xbox, so you can send emails from Call of Duty. This is what we call corporate synergy, as Activision is a proud member of the Microsoft family.
What
I'm
if
sorry, I
we hit a
can't
future where we didn't need anything or anyone? What if we were all dead? Imagine the future.
So this is a bit like speaking of weird tech products, right? Microsoft has just unveiled a vision for this Android-based software platform, right, which is AI agent stuff. But it's literally like if you stuck your phone on a lanyard. That's and they're calling it the next. And it's just so it is literally exactly. It's a screen and a camera just like a phone, but it's on a lanyard, and that's what they're calling the next big hardware format for businesses.
Oh my god!
I don't know why. Who wants this?
Oh.
And the video was like the guy was like, "Oh, this sounds all right," and I'm like, "Does it? Does it really sound all right? Because it sounds incredibly stupid to me. Why would I want to charge my name like corporate lanyards? Like."
So yeah, I mean, and please, like, I have like I want to say some good things about this song. I think it sounds fairly like, you know, professional, if that's the question. But it also kind of it could be AI generated. It could be it's very. I'm going to forget it when it's over, and even though it's been the same the whole time. So if something repeats that often, it should stick in your head. But it's just so it's really. Like, I hope that you're not going to tell us that this is AI generated. I hope you're going to just say, hey, I just started. I'm using a bunch of loops from Splice, and this is what I came up with. And, you know, respect for doing it if you are doing it, right? Just have some fun. Take a walk on the wild side. I know that in this era we don't leave our houses, but I don't know. Put your shirt on backwards. Ban yourself from saying the word "and" for an hour. Like, there's a lot of things you can do to just do something weird, right? Make yourself uncomfortable. I know that's really funny advice, but when I was talking about putting limits, it's my favorite thing for evolution as an artist, right? And look, I was never like insanely famous, but I only chose to stop doing music full-time recently, and that was a choice. So I think that you can actually have a career and you can survive by being unique, and that is the only goddamn thing we have now, right? Like AI, whether you did this with AI or not, AI could have made this in like, you know, easily. There is no way for me to tell, and I don't want that for you. I want to hear something that sticks out and be like, that's this, you know, is not AI. Okay, so like I said, I mean, the compliment is that it's professional and smooth enough that like I didn't hear any human mistakes. So that's the good part about it, right? But then I just want more of you. I want to know who you are, and I feel like if we were sitting across the table from each other, it would be like, hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. So, how is the thing on the weekend? It was like the equivalent of a conversation you have in a Teams meeting when you're waiting for somebody to get there and like nobody knows why the meeting's happening, but you don't know each other. So what I'm trying to tell you is like, let us in a little bit, right? Be vulnerable. What does that sound like? Only you know, right? It could be singing. Maybe you sing at home and you don't sing in front of everyone. It could be just trying, like maybe you don't know harmonic theory and maybe you study Asian scales for like a couple hours. Just send yourself on a weird music journey to just niche into something that will give you just a different path. Because Rayo, please, like I take this in the best way possible. Like half of us thinking it was AI is because it is really smooth and it is really professional, but the other half is because we want something else to happen, right? And please chime in, but that's how I feel.
I think the only thing I could add is it just kind of, to me, metaphorically feels like it was if you've got a canvas and you like kind of you paint it perfectly beige, and then you've got like a perfect grass that you've painted. So like you've got like the setting and it's mixed really well, and like the composition is there. You've got like that structure that you've built out yourself, but it's definitely needing some, like, I think something more unique, something more soulful, something more human in there.
Someone like Deadmau5, who many would consider kind of the top of the heap when it comes to progressive trance and that sort of verging into house, that territory. one of the characteristics I would assign to him is that he flirts with this sense of danger a little bit. You know, there are always these moments where it's like, even if he ends up going back to the baseline of being sort of optimistic, sort of upbeat dance music, there's still these moments where it's like you're going over a cliff, right? And that's really what this needs. This is this moment where you've just ramped up the intensity enough that you can cut off everything, and then it's like the roller coaster going down, and then you're coming back up to your baseline from a lower point, so that then we have that sense of direction and contrast, even though technically we've always ended up back at the start. It's kind of a sleight of hand, really.
Yeah, and please, you don't suck. Don't say that. No, nobody here sucks. Like, honestly, we've had a couple of times where I'm just like, oh dear, I hope no one is tuning in right at this exact second, and we have not had one of those tonight, and especially not you.
Everything's been really good.
No, and like I said, it's just safe. So like, Ryu, like what are you? Do you have any other hobbies? Like, there's so many different inspirations that make you you. And like, for instance, I have family from like mixed countries, right? I've just grown up with multiple cultures. I had like 3 New Years every year, and like for several different holiday seasons, and because of that, part of what I consider to be my sound is this kind of ethnically ambiguous sort of fusion, which I also kind of describes my face, right? So it's just, you know, but what I'm saying is like, it's like you can really, like, who I am is embedded in the choices that I make. And even if I'm trying to make like, oh, I'm going to make a drum and bass song, I'm never going to strip out the weird impulse I have, because that's me, right? Like, even if I'm going to do something that's going to be an anthem, there is going to be some weird cross-cultural, like a strange instrument or a little bit, and like that's my sound. And you know what? It's not going to always be the choice that sells the most, and maybe it won't, but it will be a choice that people consciously make. And right now, I don't know how to consciously choose you, because I don't know really who you are. So that's kind of what we're getting at, you know. Definitely don't despair. Like, we're giving you this much feedback because it could be really good, and it's on that like level already, right? If it was not good, we'd be like, well done, yay for making the track, goodbye. So cool. All right. I don't know how much more we have in the queue, but let's probably keep skipping through, right? Let's go.
So this is Tears by Thornroot. This is their first sort of EDM-y track. And they're mainly interested in mixing and arrangement, so just generally feedback.
Tears
Well, I'm gonna say for a start, it's the melody reminds me of the Land of Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I can hear that.
And I yeah, it's. I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or not, though. Like, do you want that association? Like,
Nah. I think your bass is being like strangled, dude. Like mids, like really dirty mids, and like there's a lot of like low end interference because I just feel like it's suffocating. I never quite hear it, but yet I hear it in the wrong places. You know, like it's almost like it's EQ'd in the exact opposite way that it should be. Like, and that could be a product of your drums sort of like taking up too much space, but also I hear the mid range is like. I think the reason it's so Willy Wonka, it's really easy to make a bass clowny, and some of that has to do with like that kind of toilet paper mud, right? As soon as it's like bah, 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 like it's like that EQ alone will make it kind of comical. So I think maybe that's what you're feeling, Natty, is like this fardiness that comes from having like a very honking kind of muddy sort of, you know, combined with the line itself. And somebody else pointed out in the chat that like the lead and the bass are kind of like 1-to-1. So I would play more with syncopation. I would really clean your low end up, and also your drum fills, they sound louder than your main drums. So it sounds like you have like samples or maybe your toms or whatever that fill percussion is. It comes in and it just like squashes everything else. So just really like work on cleaning up that stuff, and I think like it'll really lift the track, because right now it just feels like a little bit being strangled. Do you guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah, it's very boxy.
Feels a little bit overblown. I think maybe like the breakdown sections could use a bit more space, so you can give yourself that contrast. I think your Instagram ripped vocals that you have too, if you can put some sort of sibilant suppression, it was getting a little tinny with the S's. So either if you have like a sibilant plugin, or if you don't, you can either use like an EQ. If you have a dynamic one, that's great. You can get right into where those sibilants are hitting and just pull that down, so that it's not so sharp. Oh, perfect. A de-esser, that's perfect. I would use a little bit of that. And then, yeah, TDR Nova is a great free dynamic EQ that Isha loves to plug. It's great. I love that one too. But I think the bass as well, I agree with Alicia there too. There's something that was like, it was sort of like not super easy to discern the different bass notes. And I think it's just some kind of lack of clarity, maybe in even the tail of the bass sound. So maybe just tightening that up again with looking at the EQ per note. If you can do a key tracked EQ with this bass, that might help as well.
Very wise.
So,
Anything else to
Next
add?
up, I mean, not really. I feel like we kind of said everything.
All right, yeah,
like-
let's hustle. We want to get everyone in, so let's keep
Next
running.
up, we have Notemaster, because Carlos has sent me the wrong link, so I got that in the DM afterwards. Anyway, a lot of people I talk to like this, but I'm not a fan myself. What do you think? So that's an interesting conundrum. Because,
Wait, I've never had that before.
Huh? I guess he should cut herself off. Yeah, this... No, you're not... It isn't AI. The melody definitely sounds familiar to me. Just something else. But it's annoying that I can't remember what it reminds me of. Do you have any ideas?
I think it is a common like chord progression, you know? Like, I mean, we have reached that point now, as I said earlier with the Gen Alpha melody. It's pretty easy to make similar decisions. This kind of reminds me of like some of my favorite video game music from like the 90s, sort of like Super Nintendo era. It's got some nice energy, but it almost feels like timid, and maybe that's something about like lack of compression. Like, I don't know how to translate it, but I'm almost just feeling like everything is sort of a little bit limp and a little bit floaty, and nothing is really sort of like punching. I definitely think their drums are quite random and off. Like the snare is a little bit just like it's lacking body, and the keys are very harsh. So as Rex has said, so yeah, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but like, you know, it's sort of.
I think like if there was like some more rhythmic stuff maybe in the drums, there might be a little bit more of a groove to it, because I like the like atmosphere going on in the background, and the melody is like fun enough to like want the progression from the rest of the song. But yeah, I think there's something in the drums. Definitely the snare maybe needs to come down to the mix, but maintain some body so it can be lower but have the same impact. Yeah, I think maybe some more rhythms in the drums could keep like this slow head nod vibe, but just adding a few more percussions or drums or maybe like drum fills gives a little bit more groove to like, you know, want to keep going.
I think you just need to experiment with delays on those drums. You could have a dot delay, for example, that changes different what beats it's hitting on, and that would also give it more sense of space. So it'd be quite interesting, and add to that industrial vibe that you're trying to capture.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe you just gave me an idea. Maybe some percussion that's like super fast, but also in the background and very dynamic, because it's very like da 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 da. Like it's almost like the resolution of your whole song is like eighth notes or something. Like it could have a lot of like, and you're right. Like that's what the idea you gave me is when you say like quarter or dotted note delays, then you have some interesting like.
Yeah, I think that stuff doesn't even need to stay the whole time. It's just giving us a bit more dynamic of like, it can be in this part, just to give us something fun to listen to.
Yeah, but yes, keep going. We like your ideas too.
We have Calaxis. Looking for input on the mix, especially in the drop with the bass. I feel like I can't get to be punchy enough and powerful, but not too muddy, and that it's overpowering vocals. So I guess we'll keep an eye out for the overall balance of everything.
Lightning storm above the sea. I speak into the ecstasy. Oh, why do you hide out from me? Hide out from me. In the night I lose control. Thinking about the past we could
So I can definitely tell you try to channel your inner Kavinsky x Daft Punk kind of vibe. Your vocals are just too quiet, like they're too buried in the mix at the moment, and you're trying to be pop, so they really need to be super duper up front. And I feel like in this instance, it's definitely I'm gonna call it the Rags effect, where you think nobody wants to quite hear your voice.
Yeah, the sing with you. Yeah, I think and it's really tricky because I go through it too. Like we all kind of slightly hate the sound of our own voice, and we also don't really know the sound of our own voice because your voice sounds different in your head than it does outside of your head. And so it's always the curse of the producer vocalist, right? Like you are never impartial. So like my top tip for vocal production is phone a friend. Like get a producer friend that you totally trust, and just surrender and just be like, is my vocal level right? The other thing I would tell you is that I actually really like the processing you're doing. I mean, it sounds really pro, but when you compress your voice that hard, another thing, like we were talking earlier about what makes something sound professional. One thing I learned, the more professional I got, was tiny little things like you might want to cut out some of your breaths. Like if you have a more sort of soft and dynamic thing, like you're doing like, let's say Billie Eilish type of stuff, then I wouldn't do that because you also just, or actually maybe, no, sorry, let me roll that back because she does hardcore compression. If you're doing any kind of more acoustic and dynamic thing, I wouldn't do it because you would naturally have a quieter breath. But when you compress your voice that hard, your breaths come up really, really loud, right? So it's just like I can hear you like da-da-da. And so I'm not saying you need to cut out everyone, but I'm saying that some of them will kind of work with the beat and some of them will be distracting. And then there's also like tiny little things like, and I'm not saying I heard these, but these are just like general tips of people who are trying to make more professional vocals. Little lip smacks or like tiny little like things that are kind of nice. If you really want to like get that polish, then you have to tweak those too, like tiny little things. And it sounds super professional as it is, but I also think that maybe having those loud breaths and having that high level of compression is fooling you into thinking that it is too loud as well, because it's like being uncomfortably too close to yourself. It's like that dude in the club that's like, hey man. So
yeah, I want to echo what we have in chat as well, but that non-producer friends can also be pretty valuable for getting feedback, especially on like vocals, because non-producers, they're listening to a lot of vocal music usually, I'd say, and so they'll have a very good gauge of like what is sounding natural to their ears. And once being a producer and a singer, you are like hearing your own voice 1,000 times in this one song 1,000 times, so you need a second opinion, which will really help with levels. And I think a little bit more levels on your vocals could help on this one. And in that break, there's like a drop of it where I think you are doing a lot of vocal processing on your own, but there's like it's like 20% you can kind of see if you can discern what you're saying in those sections, and 80% you're getting like the distorted almost like pseudo electric guitar style vocal processing. But I think you can could try just totally leaning into that vocal processing side and cut out that 20% of like, is this a vocal? Because then you can kind of lean into the texture and get the like impact of that section a little harder.
But yeah, I dope. I like hearing you sing, Calaxis. It's been really nice to sort of get to know you musically over the last few years and like see all the different stuff you're trying. And I really like it. Like, I think the coolest thing is that you keep trying different things. And I want to encourage everybody who is at any stage, you're never too old and you're never too late to try something new, right? Like for instance, I'm really into Amapiano. I have been for like since COVID. I got really, really into it, and then I became obsessed with it, and now like I listen to it all day long. Like it's kind of my default channel, and that's not what anybody who has been a fan of me for my entire career would ever tell you, right? So right now I'm like loading up some different aliases, but you know what? Like it's fun, and it actually, like if I go back to making the other music, that will also be different and better, right? From having different influences. So keep doing it. Keep doing new stuff.
Next up, we have Dirty Demo by Mr. Crumble Cakes. First time here, very amateur artist. Potential third release track. This is an unofficial release. Looking for any suggestions and feedback. Borp.
Fucking liar, you fucking piece of shit, little fucking rat.
Yeah. Okay. It's cool. It's cool. It goes hard. I think that you've got like a good energy in here. I think the drums sound thick. I think that bass could sound a little grittier in like the low end, especially during the drops. Maybe in the breakdown as well, I could even hear a little bit like more neuro coming in the bass, like some kind of difference, some kind of more modulation, a resonant filter maybe, you know, like something interesting. And then you go back into that pounding, driving, distorted bass in your drop. And on your second drop as well, you could add like what I'm hearing here in the outro, you could add these like higher pitched melodic elements in your second drop to kind of differentiate that from your first, which would be fun. But yeah, what a banger.
Yeah,
Evil
that's
SoundCloud. How dare you?
that's a good idea, because I think like what you're saying about the resonant filter, it would give it like a new bounce. Like when it comes in, it would really like shape that sound, because that sound that you have is sort of like in your face. It's just like huge. And if you give that filter and you sort of, you know, you can do an envelope follower, you can do a lot of different things to give it the shape, but then that gives like a different dance move, right? I mean, I can almost hear it going like really deep sub. Like I can hear what you're saying, Aiden, where it just starts to like eat the sort of mid range, like bueno,
Yeah.
That would be nasty.
Changing it up.
That would go even harder. Like I think like the way it is a slice of a DJ mix that goes hard, but I wouldn't want to listen to it for 4.5 minutes or whatever for like the entire time. So then I think what you're missing is a second part like that just takes you a little bit to the next part.
That makes sense to me. And I don't really have anything useful to add. I mean, I'm this is definitely a niche where I'm not quite so well versed in, but I do kind of like the idea of folks suggesting of like the brat rap kind of thing. Like I could, like Charlie XCX that made a whole career off doing that sort of stuff. There's definitely an audience for it. So next up we have Reborn, who's been hanging out in the chat for a good while now. So thank you for your patience. We appreciate you. There's no specific feedback, so anything goes. This is Amber Supernova. Hopefully it's. Oh, we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll get copyright strike. Who knows? Too late now.
if I should rest before this ends. Break the clouds, make them turn to sand.
Amber, no, we on green light, let's go.
Lift off.
Well, this one's a really fun one. I'm enjoying this one. I wouldn't pull it down, but I thought it might be useful to at least have a little bit of talk about. What do you guys think? Are you enjoying yourself? Maybe people are saying Mario Kart samples. It would definitely work in that kind of environment.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't have much to say. Maybe like if anything in like during the first drop, pulling the hi-hats up, but I don't know. Like, it's great. The mix is great. The fills are fun, really, really fun. The sound design is super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really technical, but not in a pedantic way. Like it's not technical for the sake of being technical. It has a lot of really like complex yet centralized melodies, which is
it's
really
easy to
nice.
follow. Yeah.
Which is quite an achievement for something that has so many like arpeggios and such complex stuff, right? And some people earlier in the stream, they had the opposite problem where they had a lot of melodies floating around. But this is a really good example, I think, of having clarity in your mix and arrangement so that even when it gets busy, it's really clear what you're supposed to pay attention to. So I think you did that really well.
Well done.
Anything to add?
Thank you for your submission. Not particularly. I mean, I think send it. I'll just bookmark it for later, I think. If you add it to YouTube or something, I can add it to my regular listening list.
Nice.
Because that would go in my playlist. Next up, we have Neuro Overdrive, and they're saying got a bit experimental in the drop. Just wanted to get extra ears to see if anything sounds off. Sometimes I think the groove rushes a bit sometimes, or if the low mids or the high mids aren't grooving together. Let me know. Thanks. Interesting question. A rushed groove. Let's find out what that actually implies. If I remember to turn the volume up. Brr. Brr. Well, I want more of whatever that was. You got it sort of in a draggy sort of mid-tempo where everyone's sort of leaning back really hard and still trying to walk forward kind of vibe. It's interesting. It's I get what you mean. Is the tempo like is the groove rushed? And I would say no, but you are going to have to lead somewhere with it because this can't be a 4-minute track.
Yeah. And I would say I think what you're feeling is rushed is similar to an earlier track where the sort of when you make mid-tempo or when you make anything where you're like toggling between a lot of sounds, in order to not make it sound awkward, you have to really focus on blending them together. Like it's almost like tricking the ear. Like one of the favorite glitch hop sort of techniques was to like, take 5 different bass sounds, like totally different sounds, but make them similar enough, right? And then when you slide between them, your ear thinks that it's one bass that's just really, really complicated because you still have enough in common between the sounds that it tricks your ear. So I think that's what you're feeling when you think the groove is rushed. That is the loudest. Wow. When you feel the groove is rushed, it's kind of like you just need to smooth the edges, like the transitions between all the different sounds that you have. And like you can do that with like resonant filters, like something Aiden brought up earlier. You can really create shape and movement by like maybe like put them all in a group and filter between them. And yeah, I mean, you're talking to one of the 4 founders of Glitch Hop Forum. This was like this was the curriculum that we were writing for the children that followed. Now I'm like 110 years old after saying that. Yeah. But yeah, that's my mid-tempo 2 cents. Aiden, I don't think you've really made like that style, but you've made a lot of really glitchy, spastic stuff.
Yeah,
I think continuous.
Yeah, I try to just be. I would say this is not super like my forte. So I can't give any advice that ill-esha probably hasn't given already. But for me, like when I try to blend lots of tiny little breaks into like maybe slower tempoed stuff, I just make sure to be really intentional about like not overloading the frequency spectrum with too many drums at the same time, trying to give everything its like specific place. And even with instrumentation, aside from drums, I thought for this track, maybe the one thing that wasn't totally meshing with the rest of the groove might have been the sub. That just to my ears, I thought maybe you could have had a different kind of sub pattern rhythmically that maybe aligns itself more to, maybe is more simple and is just kind of straighter so that you can have space for all this different glitch stuff happening too.
That is also good advice. And make an ending. That was way too abrupt. I was like,
Yeah, it's not
extension.
Yeah, you need to explore your textures a little bit more and then see if you can resolve it in some way, because otherwise people just feel like they've been blueballed.
Ghost Rags also brought up ghost notes, also a favorite concept of ours. If you don't know what ghost notes are, look it up. There's a lot of great videos of drummers, like human drummers, showing you that. But it can really fill in space and give you interesting texture without taking up more space. It's definitely a really good trick. So shout out Rags. All right, we must only have like 3 or 4 left, right? Something like that.
We're almost there. Yep, about that. So this is Edil de Luna. Hello, I hope the link for this works. It does, so that's fine. This song is part of my first album. It's an instrumental and experimental song. The album is called Another World, and I consider it eerie, funny, and sweet. I'm aiming my style mostly for sync licensing, so I love playing computer games is the name of the song. this stressing you out too?
A little
my
bit,
fault.
yeah.
Yeah, and my darling, my sweetheart, with all the love, I say this. This is
Stop it.
this.
Sorry.
This is the absolute opposite thing that will be able to be sync licensed in every single way. I'm not saying it's bad, right? It is just every objective or direction that you're exploring is the complete opposite. Because here's the thing with sync licensing. There are sort of like 3 ways that you can approach it at this stage in your career, or in any stage actually. You can just be really famous and then people just license your stuff. You can have a really good agent or publisher, or you can make music that fits into the buckets of people's minds when they think of something, right? So you're not, unfortunately, doing any of those things, right? Like you're starting out in your career, so, and you probably don't have a publisher, and none of the choices you're making are accessible, right? In fact, there's a lot going on in different keys, and there's a lot of mid-range to high elements, which is like kind of the worst for commercials, shows, movies, anything that has a script or a score or talking or needs to show anything. Like that is just, it is kind of stressing people out because there's so many dissonant, unintentional harmonics. So I would say the first thing, if you want to do sync licensing, is to really develop and figure out, like, again, I've said this a few times, who are you? Like what defines you and what makes you different? And do you want to represent yourself as an artist, or do you want to represent yourself as a talented sound-alike? And there's nothing wrong with either of those things, right? I have had a side career in library music, but when I write library music, it is the opposite of me writing me music, because every choice I was telling you about that defines me doesn't belong in there, because nobody, I've had a nice career, but nobody's going around being like, give me some of that ill-esha stuff. I really wish they were, but they're not. They're like, I want Beyonce and I cannot afford Beyonce. So I would love to have some soulful R&B with like God, this blah, blah, blah. And they give this description. And then like, if you are part of these libraries, or if you are searchable and findable in that way, then you will get it. But you don't, you're not, yeah. There's so much going on. I'm going to just let you guys talk, because there's plenty of stuff to comment on, I think, here.
Yeah, I think you're, you put it well. I think I don't really want to, I don't think it's super helpful to go into each individual aspect. I think that like this could be a great practice for you. I think like, as any producer, you've got to make tons and tons of tracks before you end up finding out your own style, your own production style, and also working on like your polish as well. And I think your harp kind of piano melody up top is the best thing about this. I think it's like a fun base to build off of. But you've got a lot of different kicks coming in together. You've got off-key pads and keys coming in, and like, I don't know, just, yeah, it was starting to get a little grating by the end. Just a lot of elements that weren't going away. Maybe you could play with like pulling elements out, introducing new ones in those moments. So I just think, yeah, keep going, keep doing new ideas. But this one probably won't get picked up for library music, just being totally honest. But keep going, keep working, for sure.
Yes, for sure. All right, Natty, any last words?
So, I think this could still, components of this could still work in a sync context. It might be worth going back in as an experiment. Like you say, you're experimenting, but experimenting is also being pushing yourself in directions you wouldn't naturally go, right? Take a few of the individual melodic ideas that you're playing around with, and see if you can build an entirely new piece out of one of those components. I don't know why I'm echoing. It's not anything I'm doing wrong.
It's my open back headphones. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. We got one more submission slot. So we're gonna play Energy Raver has got a video that he wants to watch. So we're going to play that. And it's not AI, because that's always nice. The fact, so far it's been a weird trend of the AI submissions, they've both been Spotify submissions. So it's made it really obvious that they're AI. So maybe that's a good, like, we don't even ask for Spotify submissions. I'm not logged in. I don't pay for Spotify anymore. I've not paid for Spotify in about 2 years now because they're just not good for artists, and it also was just getting increasingly annoying to play a massive playlist without it just playing the same 3 songs on loop. So, but yeah, like I like that weird little fluty bit in the background. That was the bit that caught my eye. And I would suggest starting exploring that and how you can turn that into, I don't know, a hip hop beat or something. Because you could do that and have it be still a one unique element in a still a fairly standard hip hop instrumental. And that would be sync worthy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just work on everything. And I would say, like, don't even worry about it. Figure out who you are or what style is just really your home, and then hone in on that, right? And like, I actually got approached by the library music company that I did all this work for, because at the time the Weeknd had just gotten really big, and there was this new style of, like, which is now ubiquitous, but the R&B fused with like hyper electronic production and hip hop and stuff. That was really new. And so all of the composers that they had at the time didn't know how to make that kind of music. So they actually went around scouting, and they were like, who's doing like fusion of like electronic and R&B and hip hop? And I came up because that was a pretty good description of the sort of sound and the crossroads that I do. So again, figure out who you are first, work on it, polish it, and like only start thinking about sync licensing once you can answer that, right? That's the point where you actually can even, because you have to, like, let me tell you the first thing that you have to do when you submit. You have to fill out artists that you sound like. And everybody's favorite thing is like, I don't sound like anybody. I sound like me. Yeah, shut the hell up if you want to do sync licensing. You better be able to like rattle off 5 people and just cold ass stereotype yourself in 30 seconds, right? And that's it. Thoa has not been played
there is
yet.
You're right. There's I've somehow missed that. You're on the list. So we'll play this video when Discord. I don't know what's happened with Discord. Their Chrome just web version has just completely degraded in performance. It just doesn't work. I try and type and it's like a 20-year delay, and it's really stupid.
Well, should we play Thoa then?
So sorry, I've got the link now, but like it's just I'm having a bit of a pet peeve rant, basically. Alright, so we got this one, Rich Rave, and then we'll play Thoa. Sorry, Thoa, I'm just blind.
really old school sounding. I like it.
Very classic. The video also, like I like the way the video effects are kind of matching that feeling.
Yeah.
It really brings me back to like when I got started. I love these like big tom fills. They're always a
So
good
fun, yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
unfortunately I can't stare at the video because it's too flashy. We need like a special epilepsy warning or something.
I think if anything, I hear in like class of rave tracks a lot that all these elements are really a lot of fun to listen to all together. It's kind of like a peak rave techno kind of thing. But if you pull out all those elements besides like the drums and the like rave stab, that like has a lot of impact and kind of has that like old school classic rave character too. So you could just be like even more dynamic with which instruments, which parts of your track you want to feature more. And I think that could be, yeah, even more like effective. When these parts where everything is playing all at the same time, it'll be more effective when these parts play, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I also kind of wanted to go a bit further as well with the grittiness of it. I know that they're a bit don't recommend them, but Crystal Castles channels a lot of that energy. Why do so many people act like terrible people? Because then I can't recommend the stuff I used to like because they were terrible people. Please stop. Be nice, world. Be nice, world.
Oh no! What did they? I don't even want to ask.
Yeah, it's the usual bullshit. The usual, just being a horrible person.
Gosh, great. Well, I'm very thankful for all of you. This Discord, like I said, it's our 10-year anniversary, which is crazy, and we've been through a lot, but there's some really, really awesome, like especially the regulars, all of you guys talking in the chat. Some of you have been here since the beginning. We are so happy to have you. All right, let's get through these last couple ones. I know we're gears are getting there.
This is the last track for the night is by Thoa. Thank you for your patience. I'm so sorry that my brain just that's how you know it's been 3 hours. My brain has stopped completely working. But this is Frontier, and was there anything specific you wanted in Fruitbark? I feel like incline is the wrong word here. Fast fantasy anime vibes, the feeling of discovering new lands. I hope you like it. Well, this is actually my favorite personal atmosphere. I'm a big fan of book series is like you've got like the OGs like the Chronicles of Narnia, but then you've also got like His Dark Materials and the Long Earth series and just all these where it's like the trying to do the whole colonial explorer without all the bullshit. Like where you're not actually exploring somewhere that actually people live in for real, like real history. But I get what you're trying to. Like, that's a fun vibe. I do like that vibe. So let's see what you got here.
Nice.
I gotta say, that has a lot of potential. I mean, it's still not quite right in terms of the balance, but there's a lot of there's a lot of compelling elements to this one. That bit where you switch it up right at the end, I also want that to be earlier than it is. Like, that's not really an outro.
Same.
That's kind of your primary drop.
Totally same. I was just thinking that, like, I had a feeling when I said let it play out, I was like, I can tell there's a lot of like long form storytelling going on here. So I really wanted to hear where you go. And I think you could go there a little bit sooner because it's really beautiful, that second part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, like, if anything, maybe the synths could be tightened up ever so slightly if you're planning on bringing this over to desktop, or if you're planning on finishing this on FL Mobile, which I had no idea was this comprehensive. But yeah, I just think that maybe the synths overall, especially in the drop section, could be a little bit tightened up in terms of like extended reverb tails, overlaps. But I thought your drums sounded pretty solid throughout the track. And I agree with the other two. If we could like have that final drop come in maybe like a minute earlier, a minute or two earlier, that might be nicer as the pacing goes on.
You're definitely nailing your own brief, though. Like, that is the right atmosphere. Like, the expectations were set and they were met. So well done.
Very good. Natty, I know you're tired. Rags is trying to bribe us to play one more 1 minute and 30 seconds. So I'll leave it up to you.
And how much has Rags bribed us?
How has maybe that's the answer. That's okay. I think Natty needs to go to bed. Go to bed, Grandpa. No, but everybody, it's been really beautiful. I've really, really enjoyed the range of stuff. We will start it off with Rags next time. How about
Yeah,
that?
I think that's. I mean, my brain is not giving out good feedback now, so.
My feedback is not giving good brain. Big thanks, Aiden. Always love having you. You have such a great perspective. And as Aiden said at the beginning, if anybody is in California, he's got some shows. Maybe you post your links again in the chat before you go, because I really love your music, your advice, and always great to have you.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here every time. Thank you guys for having me on again.
Awesome. And thank you, Natty. I you are holding it together. You're a champ. And even when your brain is scrambled, you're still one of my favorite people. So thank you for always opening your heart and your time to do that.
It's thank you too, Isha. I mean, you've been really on the ball with good feedback tonight, and I'm sure that everyone appreciates it.
Yay.
And
Thanks to
yeah,
everyone.
like, let's. I'm sorry, Aiden. We have links censored. 2 seconds. But also remember, folks, we're on the Discord.
There we go.
You
Thank
can
you.
ask people for their links on the Discord. Talk to each other. Be friends.
Yes, Discord, we're always there. I mean, we're not always there, but we're always eventually there. So join in, chat with us. And we do this about once a month. So, all that, subscribe just to get a notification. As soon as we go live, like the queue is open. Sometimes it's even open a little bit before. So if you hang around the Discord and you ask, we will open up the form early to make sure you get in there. So, all right. You know what time it is, Natty.
Indeed. This has been Feedback and Friends. We love you all, and we wish you good